And in other news, with this being October, WJSU pauses to observe Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Here is L.A. Warren.
Breast cancer survivor Ruby Wiggins knows that delayed treatment can have dire consequences, particularly among African American women who die at a rate disproportionately higher than their white counterparts. Now, because of the non-discriminating disease, Dr. Wiggins spearheaded the annual Breast Cancer Awareness Conference. She works in the College of Education and Human Development in the Department of Special Education at Jackson State University. The 6th annual conference held yesterday and today at the Mississippi East Center at Jackson State included medical experts from throughout the area. Now, Dr. Wiggins discussed the importance of the event.
First of all, I'm an 11-and-a-half-year breast cancer survivor. And 6 years ago, I got the idea to set up a breast cancer awareness conference simply because there were so many women being diagnosed with breast cancer who did not know what to do, where to go, or, and were confused about treatments and whatnot. So I decided that it would be a good idea to have a breast cancer awareness conference. I consulted with my dean, and he agreed. And as I say, the rest is history in terms of the event. But we invite physicians, breast cancer survivors, family members of breast cancer survivors, and support specialists out, medical support specialists out every year to talk to the audience about breast cancer. And essentially, we're trying to raise awareness of breast cancer and how prevalent it is in society as a whole among males and females. Women and men as well need to be aware that breast cancer does not discriminate. Women of all races, colors, and creeds develop breast cancer, but Caucasian women are more apt to develop it, but African American women are more apt to die from it. And one of the reasons is that we're less apt to go out and get medical exams and mammograms and whatnot. So as a result, by the time we detect breast cancer, it's too far along, and either we end up dying from it or we have a long, hard road of recovery.
And meanwhile, breast cancer survivor Vicky Bradley, who is CEO of Extended Learning Solution of Jackson, talks about her battle and now her life of being cancer-free.
Now, what message would you like to give to others, to inspire others who may be going through the same thing or starting out after a diagnosis?
After a diagnosis, I would like to say to others to know that breast cancer itself is not a death sentence. It is something that I would advise everyone to go through the proper treatments, whatever your doctor asks you to do as far as chemo and radiation, to do whatever. Find you a support group. Stay positive. That's the most important thing. I tell everyone it's almost mind over matter. And my word is but God, because if he brings you to it, he's going to bring you through it. You just have to stay positive, and the best thing is family and friends supporting you.
And I was going to mention that because you emphasize family and friends and network, but it can be a strain on family too as well.
It is definitely a strain on family because you're at the point in your life where, and I can only speak for myself as far as what I went through, you're weak from the radiation and from your chemo, but family, you fall out sometimes, but your family is who's going to be the people that's mostly around you to give you that love and support. If you don't feel like getting up, it's your family that's there, more so than your friends that, it's sometimes. I was lucky to have both family and friends there to support me, to offer to do things for me that I found myself that I was struggling to do. When I didn't feel like doing anything, they would step up to the plate. That's the time that I lay back and I was actually pampered and given that support, and they just seeing them coming to see me, just a phone call, and just to sit there by my bed in a chair just to say it's okay, if you want to talk, fine, if you don't want to talk, but I'm here for you. That in itself gives you courage, and it makes you want to fight, because if they've taken out their time to come to be with you, surely you can thank God for whatever you're going through to give you the strength to make it through that day and all other days.
You mentioned something earlier that was really compelling too. You said there were maybe some things that you would have done differently. You talked about reconstructive surgery as well.
I did, and speaking just from me, if I had to do it over, I would not elect reconstruction because of personal things, but it was not a good thing for me. I would just wear my prostheses and embrace what the Lord has given me and wear it in stride. Reconstruction, it was very painful for me, and I didn't like that part of it, but still I'm alive, and I still need to do another part of my reconstruction, and I've elected not to do it. So, God is good. As long as I'm, cancer-free, 2.5 years, I'm fine.
Overall, you tolerated the therapy medicine pretty well, would you say?
Very well, very well. I mentioned earlier that people will scare you. Just listening to other people, and I consider them to be negative people. So if you're going through breast cancer, or if you know someone that's going through breast cancer, it's not always negative because everybody's body is different. What they went through doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to go through that. I never went through most of the things that they told me I was going to go through. I never went through that. And a lot of that, I believe it was my faith and knowing that God had my back, that I didn't go through a lot of things. I did go through some things, but the throwing up and all that, I never went through any of that. I was nauseated. But for the most part, I did very well with my cocktail, as I call them. With all of my cocktails, I did very well with them, other than the crying from one of the cocktails. That's fine, because you can just wipe those tears away. But I did well.
Your faith helped you to discover the lumps.
Exactly. It was my faith in God. And, when I think back, and I was going back down memory lane from the conference, but God, again, from my first diagnosis, when I start swelling, and that actually came from the tree limb falling across me, and me walking into the door to find that both of the lumps in my breast, both of them were cancer. If it had not been for those incidents happening to me, I wouldn't have known, because my mammogram actually was a normal mammogram. So after that, these little things start happening, and I thank God every day for that tree. I thank God for that door, because if it had not been for those things, I would not have known.
You have sisters, you have a mother. None of them had any signs of breast cancer. You're the only one.
I'm the only one, and actually my grandmother is still living, and I'm the first person in my family with breast cancer. And my testimony, when I was able to go back to church, the first thing I testified, I thank God for allowing it to happen to me. But I also asked God to let it be the last person that it happens to in my family. This will not be a generational curse on our family. I'm going through it for my sisters, and I have one daughter, and prayerfully she won't have to go through it. But even with my faith, you have to have preventive measures, and I know that God worked through doctors and medicine, so I'm making sure that she stays aware of what's going on with her body, that she's taking her test and doing everything, and actually since I am the first in the family and she's my daughter, then, of course, her doctor is taking early stages in prevention for her, because it can be hereditary.
You made an extraordinary transformation from the effects of the drugs, and now we look at you now, and you are an amazing woman.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The drugs, it's like a before and after, and I call it my rebirth period. I've gone from losing all of my hair to whatever, but like I said at the conference, it's just hair. It will regrow, and it's so many things out there to beautify oneself, but beauty is within. So it's how you feel about yourself, because if you're a beautiful person with hair or without hair, it's within.
Wow. Throughout the month, the WJSU plans to spotlight breast cancer, focusing on mammography, early detection, and where to turn for financial assistance and treatment. We thank our guests, survivors, Dr. Ruby Wiggins and Vicky Bradley.